third race of the day for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. So this will be a grid that's set by, I think it's a random draw. No, is it random draw top 10? No, sorry, it's not. It's a randomly drawn reverse top 10 with a number pulled out between 6 and 10. So looks like number 7 has been pulled out, I think, which means that the car that finished 7th in race number 2 should be starting from pole position for this third race of the day. So once again, great effort by all the teams and all the drivers to get the cars turned around for this third race. And as we said, the grid sees everyone all formed up and ready to go. So as we say, the grid is pretty much formed up by the order which they finished overall in that third race, but the number ball that was pulled out was 7, so the top 7 is reversed from those guys. And so we're now going to take you through the grid for this final race for the MX-5 Super Cup. So from pole position on the front row of the grid is Declan Lee, number 12, on the front row of the grid. He'll start alongside James Cousins, who won a reverse grid race at Croft in the season opener. He'll start from the front row, so he always finds himself in these positions, as James. He's been on the front row, I think, twice, if not 3 times today, so possible chance for him to get a good result. John Langridge starts on the second row of the grid in 3rd, alongside Braden Fletcher in 4th, fresh off his first ever MX-5 Pro Class podium. Then Jack Harding and Sam Smith, the championship rivals, on the 3rd row of the grid. That'll be spicy. And then it's the club class winner and overall race winner for the first time in race 2, Richard Amos, who starts 7th on the grid alongside Will Blackwell Chambers in 8th. Moving down to the top 10, or bottom of the top 10, is Patrick Fletcher back in 9th, and Luke Whitworth will start in 10th place. And it's Martin Canning and Kevin Sylvain on the 6th row, followed by Martin Tolley and Tom Selden, and Alex Miller and Will Morris rounding out the top 16, with the top 20 rounded out by the cars on row 9 and row 10. And that being Adam Bezel in 17th place and Alex Osborne in 18th place, followed by Matt Pickford and Stephen New to round off the top 20. And then it's Xavier Brooke and James Warrior from Nick Rutter and Clive Powers in 23rd and 24th positions on the 12th row. Row 13 sees Christopher Richardson and George Grant from Andrew Flynn and Scott Wright. And then it's Clive Chisnell and Bruce Robinson from Marcus Carlton and Liz Walton. Duncan Harris and Lee Britton from Ivor Mears and Simon Fleet. And then Kevin Brent will start towards the back of the field for the 37 car entry that we have for this car grid that we have for this final race. So that's the grid order complete, and I was going to use, if there was that break, a chance to input the points from that second race to see who was where, but it would have been a maximum score of 100 points for Sam Smith and 98 points for Jack Harding after his incident in race 1, which it seems as though there was that 10th place grid penalty came through for Sam Smith for that second race, but no such penalties for the final one, where, as we said, the partially reversed grid. So Declan Leader in the British Racing Green liveried number 12 car, run by Hills Motorsport. It's an all Hills Motorsport front row with John Langridge 3rd. So it's Hills Motorsport cars 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the grid. Braden Fletcher 4th, and then we have this rather enticing prospect of the 2 championship contenders once again lining up alongside each other on the front row of the grid. That will be quite the run down towards turn 1 for the first time. So other drivers to watch out for. Richard Amos, who we know is pretty quick. There is car number 14 in the field. That is Kevin Brent. That is the ex-Jake Bailey car, which used to be quite prominent in the MX-5 Super Series, which was the non-point scoring formula for these MX-5 Mark III Super Cup cars, which ran on the same package as the Mark I MX-5 Championship, back when the Super Cup went off to be a support championship in its own right for the TCR UK paddock a couple of years ago, when that ran with the BRSCC on its roster. But as we say, 2020 was the year that, regardless of other things happening in the world, that the entire MX-5 Mark III grid contingent came back together. And that's where the pro and club class format was born. So those who are more used to it, being the Super Series, would be racing, mainly if they were before a Super Series drive, would jump into the club class, whereas some who were, but they were quick enough, were able to jump straight onto the pro class, and but they were able to put themselves against the very best that the Super Cup had to offer. So a couple of readjustments of grip position there for the 2 front row men. And you saw Declan Lee there, feeling it's bright enough to wear a pair of sunglasses whilst he races. So I'm sure he's keeping the sun out of his eyes amongst many things. So it's the dark British Racing Green number 12 car of Declan Lee that starts on pole position. The blue, orange and black car of James Cousins starts alongside him on the front row. The grey and white car with the green accents is going to be John Langridge, and then the white, black and red car with Braden Fletcher is on the second row. The final MX-5 Super Cup race of the day here at Snetterton, all set to get underway. Action stations, we head down towards turn 1 for the first time. It's a jump for the first couple of rows. There might be a couple of jump penalties, but now as they get underway finally, I think possibly James Cousins went, John Langridge went with him, and the both of them I think will get probably 10-second penalties for jump starts. So we'll let the stewards work that one out, but down towards turn 1 for the first time, Declan Lee turns in as the leader. As they all pile in once again, there goes Xavier Brook in the middle of the pack with Matt Pickford and James Warrior, all fighting for racing room, all 37 of them, but they've all got through cleanly so far. And now into the hairpin, side by side for the lead, diving up the inside to take second place goes Braden Fletcher, and the two main championship contenders have fallen back a couple of spots. That was Jack Harding battling with Luke Whitworth, and Adam Bezel's also got some work to do after he slid off in the slightly damp conditions at one point. He finished back in, I think, 30th on the grid. Where did he start? In fact, actually, where did he start? Actually, looking quick. We'll look at that in a second because there's quite a lot going on towards the front. Declan Lee goes defensive as he continues to lead, heading into Agostini. Looking around the outside to try and reclaim second place goes Braden Fletcher. Goes James Cousins on Braden Fletcher. As Braden's made a great start from the second row of the grid to put himself up into the mix. And he looks up the inside and goes into second place. He's done it. So up past James Cousins, or at least he's held on to second place past James Cousins. You look down the outside. And I've also noticed that Sam Smith has gotten past Richard Amos. In fact, now Sam Smith is going up the inside of Fletcher. He's made a rapid start already for 7th on the grid. He now goes through Braden Fletcher on the inside of Williams. And the rest of the pack funnels its way through, line astern, through the right-hander, onto that Bentley straight. Those fantastic, buzzing 2-litre Mazda engines as they sing their way down the Bentley straight and up towards the complex of Brundle and Nelson. This should be interesting. Side by side, here goes James Cousins looking for the lead on the outside of his teammate Declan Lee. They turn into Brundle, then flick right through Nelson, and it's Lee who leads then. It's then second place for Cousins, third for Smith, fourth for Braden Fletcher, fifth for Richard Amos, who still at a canter leads the club class. The rest of them all go pouring through. There's Andrew Flynn, there's Bruce Robertson, who just finished the second race after he crawled across with mechanical problems. Managed to get across the line, and there's Duncan Harris having a scrap with Kevin Brent towards the back. I think there's also a car that's dropped behind. I think it was an orange car, so it might be Nick Rutter, but we'll wait and see when they come past the pits for the first time. There's Kevin Sylvain in the club class car, battling with Luke Whitworth, and then behind him is Adam Bezel, who is a pretty rapid driver in his own right. He's got some work to do from deep in the field. So we head down the pit straight once again. Let's take stock. Lee leads then. It's then Cousins second. Sam Smith already charging on for third as they make their way down towards the Ritchie's corner again. And you saw there, trying to go all the way to the inside line was Declan Lee, defensively trying to prevent a move from Sam Smith into Ritchie's, kicking up the dust as they go through, and Lee's now found himself on the outside line, which means he's been under threat from both Sam Smith and then Braden Fletcher and almost everyone else that wants to get through. He's lost 2 places. He might still be side by side with Braden Fletcher, and through the gap between John Langridge and Will Blackwell Chambers, who have been long Mark 1 rivals before in the MX-5 Championship, shooting through the gap came Jack Harding. Out of the way, boys, excuse me. Through past both of them, so he's not hanging around, he's making a move. So up to second place has gone Sam Smith. He's already challenging Cousins for the lead. Back up for third place, up the inside of Declan Lee goes Braden Fletcher. And there goes diving up the inside of Richard Amos. There was Jack Harding. He really isn't hanging around. He knows he's got to pick up as many points as he can to stop Sam Smith running away with the points lead. There goes Matt Pickford battling away with Tom Selden in the Luke Herbert racing car. That is Luke's former 3-time championship winning MX-5, the blue car. So it's got some pedigree, that machine, and it's in the hands of one of his new drivers for this year, being just a team boss this season rather than being a driver himself after having won the championship 3 times on the bounce. In previous years, in 2017, 18 and 19, some dust being kicked up on the exit. There's 2 of the Go For It racing cars. There's Martin Tolley with Martin Canning behind him. Now that was Adam Bezel running wide, so he's lost a couple of spots. As into Brundle, so they go, side by side for Lee, looking round the outside into Brundle, up the inside at Nelson. Job done. That's a move done for Sam Smith. And look at that, James Cousins got really bulked on the exit, and he's losing out to Braden Fletcher around the outside. And there goes Declan Lee trying to make a move for third position. A little wide on the exit. This might allow Jack Harding to go up the inside. Has a look, forces his way through, and he's into fourth position. So wherever Sam Smith goes, Jack Harding's chasing him hard now through the right-hander at Coram. Now into the left-hander at Murray's as they flick their way through. So Smith, Fletcher, Cousins, Harding, Amos, and it's Lee and Langridge in 7th place. 8th position now for Will Blackwall Chambers. Pit ball's being held at. They get the encouragement on the pit wall from the mechanics and from the team members. Give them the speed up. Come on, let's go. And look at Braden Fletcher. He's all over the back of... Well, he's got past James Cousins, but he's all over the back of Sam Smith. And he could be on for his... never mind his first podium in race 2. He's challenging on legitimate pace for his first win. And this is only lap 3. So 5 minutes gone in this 20-minute race. They're 20-minute races each for the MX5 Super Cup. We've had just over 5. So this third lap now run. The first proper flying lap has been completed, and the first proper fastest lap of the race has gone to Jack Harding, 2 minutes 18.015. He was at least 0.3 of a second quicker than the 3 cars in front of him. And you can see him there trying to go up the inside. A big last-minute dive up the inside into Agostini. That was a late move from Jack Harding. He really caught James Cousins unawares. Holds his line. There's contact between the pair of them, and James Cousins really got caught. He got caught so by surprise. He just got to the corner, went to turn the apex, and Jack Harding's car just arrived on his inside line. And then Jack Harding, as he's entitled to do, held his line on the outside, and James Cousins chose to try and stick it out with him on his outside. As a result of that, found himself over the curbs and unfortunately loses out to a position. He's now under threat from Richard Amos, who's the runaway leading club class car. There's Declan Lee as they head down towards the complex at Brundle and Nelson again. Sam Smith still leads. Braden Fletcher still keeping him under threat. They turn back in through Brundle and Nelson. That really tricky braking zone as Jack Harding pitches the car in third place. He's working wonderfully. He's on all the road a bit more. You can tell by the way these cars just slightly move around at pace. You can tell when they're being driven hard, and Jack Harding's certainly going for it. He knows he's got to try and close up to these top 2 and put the maximum amount of pressure onto Sam Smith to try and grab a result here. Sam Smith, of course, remember, has won the first 2 races. He did this at Anglesey. He won all 3 races. If he does this, it'll be his 6th win in a row if he can do it. But again, the chasing pack is starting to close in. The contenders are lining up now to try and close him down. Let's look at lap time to see if Jack Harding and co can catch him. Across the line they go. Smith does a 2 minutes 15.844. That's a new fastest lap of the race. It's 2:16.1 for Fletcher, a 2:16.7 for Harding. So I think this partially was down to that, was him making that big last minute move on the inside of the Agostini hairpin, trying to catch James Cousins unawares. And running wide there is Declan Lee. He goes grass mowing on the exit of Ritchie's. He's going to lose out to Will Blackwall Chambers. That's a position lost, I think. Yes, it is. So Will Blackwall Chambers has got through. That's him up to 7th place. Declan Lee's down to 8th. One driver who's been pretty anonymous today is Patrick Fletcher. He really hasn't had the ideal weekend at all. He's back down in 9th place, quite far away from the 2 main championship contenders around him. And he's going to be dropping further away from the contenders. There he is in the middle of the shot there, the black car with the red stripes, number 29, just gone through the shot there. The rest of the field comes through. We're looking at Luke Whitworth here in the 757, under threat from the 2 Go For It racing cars. The 23 of Martin Tolley and the 419 of Martin Canning, who cut his teeth in the MX5 Championship with some occasional races. Now he's contesting a full season in the Super Cup, as is Martin for his 2nd crack at Mark 3s. And Luke Whitworth, who's doing quite a decent job. I think he previously came out of karting, if I'm correct. Did Luke. And he's now jumped straight into the Super Cup. And for some drivers, jumping into this championship can be a bit intimidating, but for some others, they do take to it pretty quickly. And usually that's why some drivers spend a few seasons in the Mark 1s first before they jump into the Super Cup and test their mettle. 2 Go For It racing cars with a bit of bump drafting there as Martin Canning helps Martin Tolley down the straight. Just ahead of them, that was Kevin Sylvain having a battle with Alex Miller. Kevin Sylvain, who is the current points leader in the club class on drop scores. He's scrapping away with Alex Miller, who's had 1 or 2 decent results in the pro class today. He's been up and around the top 10 as Martin Canning just working away at the wheel there, just clipped the inside curb with the bomb hole. There's Will Blackwall Chambers, followed by Declan Lee, Patrick Fletcher, Adam Beslin there too as well. And there is those 2 Go For It racing cars as they turn in through Murray's for the end of lap 3. Another new fastest lap of the race in front for Sam Smith. There he is. 2 minutes 15.478. Now Harding was a 10th quicker than Fletcher on that last lap in 2nd place. There's the other Fletcher, Patrick Fletcher, having a scrap with Blackwall Chambers and Declan Lee. Here we see James Warrior having a battle with that was Clive Powers. They were going side by side into Ritchie's. Warrior tried to put his nose up the inside. Meanwhile, as we go back to this battle here between these 4 cars, Fletcher's managed to stick his nose up the inside of Will Blackwell Chambers into the hairpin at Wilson. Here comes Adam Bezel trying to fight back as well. So looking at the race control messages, we've had a couple of warnings for track limits for 2 cars. One is for car 6, Richard Amos, but the other one's for Braden Fletcher. So warnings for them. If they keep on stepping over the white line a little too much on the exits of corners, they might find themselves with a time penalty. We haven't had any of those yet, although, touch wood, it hasn't happened just yet, but let's hope it doesn't for the rest of the race. We've still got this and one more of our shorter kind of sprint races to go today, which is the 3rd Mazda MX-5 Championship race. And then, of course, we have the main event, the MX-5. I keep saying MX-5. There's so much about Mazda racing, it's a habit to say that the next race is an MX-5 one, because it has been up until this point. But the final race is the new Super Sport Endurance Cup race, so an hour and 40 minutes. Look at that. Fantastic. So you had so many people on the banks here at Snetterton watching these Mazda MX-5s. And I hope if you're watching this back afterwards, they'll be giving you some great entertainment, because they really have. It's been fantastic to watch and to cover here in the commentary box. So there's Declan Lee with now Patrick Fletcher behind him. He's worked his way around Will Blackwell Chambers. Adam Bezel now still just behind him as well. This battle's going on for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. So it's the bottom end of the top 10 for these 4 cars. And I imagine, I think here, Fletcher's going to try and make a move on Declan, because Declan started on pole by virtue of the reverse grid draw. The number that was pulled out was 7, so as Declan Lee finished 7th in race 2, it meant that he started on pole position. They reversed the top 7 on the grid for race 3. He was the one that got lucky and started on the inside of the front row. He's now under threat from Patrick Fletcher, who's had 3 wins so far this year. He took his first 2 at last at Croft. It was quite a long time coming, and then managed to collect another one at Silverstone. Further back, there's Luke Whitworth, followed by the Go For It Racing twins, as Martin Canning just a little wide and puts the wheel onto the grass and just holds on for the time being. This appears to be the main battle on track. Just keeping tabs on the leaders. Jack Harding is about 0.4 of a second away. Here they are. He's just trying to close in here on Braden Fletcher, who, of course, now has a podium to his name in the Super Cup, at least in the Pro class. 3rd in the class in the last race, and he's currently 2nd, so this will be one up from his best result. Jack Harding knows he has to try and get past Braden as quick as he can. He's running out of time. He's only got 7.5 minutes if he can get past him now to try and catch back up to Sam Smith again, who looks odds on to go for another victory, and therefore another clean sweep of the 3 races in the Super Cup on a weekend. He's done it at Anglesey, and the only weekend he hasn't won a race was the season opener at Croft, but it was 2 wins for Fletcher and 1 for James Cousins. So ever since he managed to find his groove again after Croft, he hasn't left a weekend so far without winning a race, which is pretty impressive. Here's that battle going on, and right, there it's happened now. It's immediately. So Jack Harding has slipped through down the back straight and into Brundle. Fletcher thumps the curb in protest. Come on, I want my 2nd place back, but it's not really going to work that way. It will only lose him time. So now Jack Harding is through. Now the question is, he's got some 7 minutes to go in this race. Can he do anything about the lead that Sam Smith has? But they come through Coram. There is 2nd and 3rd. There's Sam Smith just flashing through shot. And when they came across the line last time, if I find the timing screen on my PC here, so when they came across the line, the gap was 2.2 seconds between Smith and Fletcher, with Harding just a fraction behind them. Across the line they go this time, and the gap is now 3.3 because Harding lost 0.7 of a second on that last lap. So now he's got clear air. He's got to see if he can try and catch him up now. Remember, Smith has that fastest lap of the race now, 2 minutes 15.478, which means he'll get him another extra point for fastest lap. You do get a bonus point for fastest lap as well. You also get in the main qualifying session, you get a bonus point for pole position overall. So that will be, of course, it was Jack Harding that got that in the. Wait, no, yes, it was, because he was on pole position. So down the back straight and towards Agostini again. Braden Fletcher, he's doing very well to keep with Jack Harding at the moment. James Cousins still 4th. Richard Amos, who again is by far and away the dominant club class leader again, is in 5th position overall. John Langeridge is 6th, but he'll get points for 5th in pro class at this point. So now with these last 5 minutes to go, really, Jack Harding's got to try and switch up a gear a little bit and just try and find a little bit more pace underneath him to try and close this gap of some 3.3 seconds at the front. Through Williams they go. Braden Fletcher on his tail. It's good stuff from Braden. Of course, Braden, the younger brother of Kelvin Fletcher, who is part owner of the Paddock Motorsport team, which runs these cars, along with Martin Plowman, or Plowy as he's known. Of course, in his regular racing career at the moment, he's, of course, his team now, of course, run their own. Well, they now are running their own Bentley GT3 and British GT after that car was previously run by JRM. They switched over from the second round at the Silverstone 500. They also run McLarens as well. They run them in the GT Cup Championship, and of course as well Mazdas. And Mazdas are a nice proving ground for some of their drivers and some of their customers to get the feel for it. And drivers like Paul O'Neill as well recommended he wants to go into a career that might be something along the lines of Ginettas or higher up in the order to come and join the Super Cup as a starting point, because it's an ultra competitive championship, being a one-make spec championship, to get to grips with the whole concept of one-make spec racing, and in a championship that is incredibly competitive, that forces you to have to get your elbows out to really up your game, to really find that extra speed. And even this year, you look in the GT4 Super Cup, you do see some drivers who have moved up in the last couple of seasons. James Blake Baldwin's one. We have Steve Roberts, who's been a former MX-5 Super Cup racer. We have Carl Garnett in there as well. Jack Sycamore's been racing there recently. So this really is a fantastic proving ground and a great breeding ground for future GT talent in many cases who have moved up in the last few seasons. Of course, another one we have to think about, of course, is Abby Eaton, who won the championship in Super Cup in 2014, is now a W Series racer, and she's over at the Hungaro ring this weekend, of course, continuing her first ever single-seater series. But she's also doing a little bit of Brit car this year, and she's done British GT, she's done GT Cup and all sorts. She's been working with the Grand Tour, and certainly is a very much loved and admired alumni of the championship. Which has got 3 minutes left to go in this final race of the day for the Super Cup. Braden Fletcher, I'm very impressed. Not that I doubt his ability for a second, not at all, but it's incredible to see that he's keeping pace with and actually keeping honest a driver like Jack Harding, who you would have expected to just put his foot down and pull away immediately. And while Braden Fletcher would have been able to hold his own in 3rd place overall, you might have seen Jack run off into the distance to try and chase after Sam Smith, but that hasn't really happened, because not only has he not closed the gap went out last time by to 3.7 seconds, he's also not been able to shake him off. Now look at this huge battle pack of cars. I wonder why the camera was waiting for it, because this is what it was waiting for. So Declan Lee heads this group. We've got Patrick Fletcher in there, Adam Bessel, Alex Miller's coming through. You might pass all 3 at this rate. Will Blackwell Chambers is also stuck in there. Luke Whitworth, Kevin Sylvain, and the Go For It Racing twins of Martin Canning and Martin Tolley. So all of them all together piling into the complex here, one after the other. Someone's got to shake this out into a particular order. Well, Declan Lee heads it up now. Pat Fletcher just behind them. Then it's side by side between Adam Bezel on the inside and Alex Miller on the outside into the bomb hole. Miller capitulates, lets Bezel have the position. Here comes Will Blackwell Chambers trying to fight back on Luke Whitworth in the two-tone kind of split black and white car. It's black on one side, white on the other. And then you've got the black and green car of Kevin Sylvain, and then there's those 2 Go For It racing cars with that sort of classical painting style sort of motif on the side of that car. Across the line they go. So down the pit straight. Now look at the time, we've got 1 minute and 10 to go. So I think this may well be the last lap of the race. I think, yes, there it is, last lap graphic on the top of the screen. So now they make their way up towards it. And for this man, Sam Smith, it's been another, I wouldn't say casual, but it's been another fairly dominant day for him, car number 1. He's doing everything he needs to keep in a position to defend his title. Keep that number 1 on the door for next year. And when it's his day and everything goes well, he is very much an incredibly difficult man to beat. Even Jack Harding's finding that, and Jack Harding is no slouch at all. He's an incredibly formidable driver. And someone I'm sure who will move into things like Ginettas or further afield in his racing career, and will certainly carry all that speed through with him, because he is one of those drivers who, like others, not just on the BRSCC roster, but other places where they currently are club racers, but they could certainly hold their own at higher levels of motorsport in the UK. There is John Langridge, fifth in Pro Class and overall, because it's just Pro Class cars first. The fifth, Richard Amos, is back in sixth, just behind him. But turning his way into Brundle and Nelson for the final time. Nice and calm, nice and steady for Sam Smith. It's been a nice, slightly less frantic drive. Once he managed to pick his way through from 7th on the grid, he managed to get to the front and left Braden Fletcher and Jack Harding just to scrap amongst themselves. He now heads his way in through Coram for the last time. And once again, like it was in Anglesey, it's going to be the perfect hat-trick for this man. He heads out of Morris the final time. Nice little run on the exit. He'll sprint to the checkered flag. He took a hat-trick. Oh, he missed a gear there for a second there. He doesn't want to do that towards the line. He took a perfect hat-trick at Anglesey. He will do it again at Snetterton. It is 6 wins on the bounce for reigning champion Sam Smith. A perfect hat-trick at Snetterton. Second place to Jack Harding. And another podium for Braden Fletcher. He's delighted with that. 4th for James Cousins. 5th for John Langridge. 6th for Richard Amos. And now we wait, because the massive freight train for 7th backwards is on its way. Here it comes. You can see it at the top of the screen. They're all charging their way through it. It might be a photo finish for 7th. Up to the line. What's the order? It's going to be, I'll count them as they come across, Bezel, Fletcher, Miller, then Whitworth and Lee across the line, followed by Blackwood, Chambers, Sylvain, Tolley and Canning. Incredibly, that group of cars from 7th down to 15th was covered by 2.5 seconds. That was brilliant stuff. Then it's Alex Osborne on his SuperCup debut, just beats James Warrior to the line. There's a photo finish here between George Grant and Tom Selden. And that's Grant beating Selden to the line by 1/10. Just ahead of them was Christopher Richardson and Matt Pickford from George Grant and Tom Selden. Xavier Brooke holds on ahead against Simon Fleet. Good to see him make the flag this time after he retired in race 2. Nick Rutter and Clyde Chisnell come next. It's going to be Andrew Flynn, Scott Wright and Marcus Carton. And then the last couple of finishes should be Kevin Brent, followed by Liz Walton. She will come home as 10th place in club class, just ahead of Duncan Harris. And then it'll be Lee Britton with Stephen New and Will Morris sadly pitting earlier on in that race. So there he is, another hat-trick hero, another 3 race wins, another massive haul of points for leader Sam Smith. He will certainly take that from his day trip to Norfolk. Very happy with that indeed. And I'm sure he'll be delighted with that. Jack will certainly be happy with, you can use the results in race 1 as a drop score, but at least 2 more second places in will certainly help him keep Sam Smith in touch as much as possible. And Braden Fletcher, of course, an excellent drive this afternoon to pick up 2 third places in Pro Class. He will be absolutely thrilled with that. Some great stuff. There we go. Despite what happened in race 1, they're still good friends off track, and they still have massive respect for each other. So good to see the 2 chatting about that, and good stuff. So Lindsay's just, I think, off, sort of possibly helping to sort out some of the other stuff in the Mazda. So doing a bit of double duty this weekend, but helping out with the coordination as well as on the microphone for us. But good stuff from Sam. Of course, he will be heading to Cadwell Park at the end of August for the next one. And there's Mark Werrell, quite well-renowned commentator as well. He'll be back here next week. He was telling me for British GT, so he does do quite a bit. But he's just having a chat with, I'm sure, a rather delighted Braden Fletcher after that one. So nice little conversation with them going on. And Mark was telling me he's busy until the end of November. He's working every single weekend to the end of November. So it's busy stuff as for people in motorsport, particularly with that slightly more compressed season, given the fact not as compressed as it was last year with shorter season. Everything being compressed into one one shorter season. Just hearing a bit of.
Well, well done for you on your first podium of the season, and good luck for Kelvin next weekend in British GT.
Just hearing a bit of Mark conversing with Braden. So
then we'll grab a quick word with the driver that finished in second position,
Mark has the microphone,
which was Jack Harding.
Quickly hand over to him.
Smile on your face. Still some good championship points, but do you feel as though maybe today just got away in race number 1?
Yeah, definitely. Sam's had 2 good weekends now. He's won 6 races in a row, making me look quite bad really. But no, like I said, we got pole. We did everything we needed to do. Pole for both races. Got taken out in race 1. Yeah, like I said, Sam got a penalty for that for the race 2 was grid start. And then, like I said, I went off in the wet, so I just got no luck these days. And yeah, the start wasn't great. I got hemmed in, lost the mirror, and then it's just, yeah, went from there really. So I went backwards on the start and then pulled my way through.
go back, regroup, Cadwell Park next?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't been there since about 2017, so don't know how we'll be. We'll just have to give it a go, won't we? But we need to claw some points back. I think we're about 6 points behind Sam now on drop scores, so it's a lot to play for, but I just need to start getting some wins.
Well, fingers crossed for Cadwell Park. Very well done on 2 second places. We'll wander down and grab a quick word with our race winner, who has had a solid day, really, with 2 wins and a second place, Sam, including a P13 start. So on the whole, not a bad day.
Yeah, it was unexpected coming into yesterday. We lacked pace yesterday. We felt comfortable but lacked pace. Qualifying, we felt good but lacked pace again. And then the team did a great job. A few little changes on the car. And yeah, bar the penalty, we had a great day. So yeah.
And that also means that you've been on the podium every single race so far this season.
Yeah, every race, and yeah, so pretty happy with that. That's what you got to do to win championships. So just stop crashing.
And it's quite bizarre. Your worst results of the season were the first 2 races. You were only 3rd. You've either been 2nd or 1st since those.
We had a problem at the first round. We had a block cat which was restricting us. So we were just, yeah, we were quick, but we were running 10 horsepower behind what we should have been. So we salvaged a good weekend, and then yeah, it's been good from there. So on to Cadwell.